Are those sheep still walking in a circle wherever they are? I have a lot of concerns about these sheep. Somebody posted it in the Facebook group. Was it you that posted it in the Facebook group? And then somebody else, Courtney, I think, sent it to us on Instagram. And I'm just like, this creeps me out for no, like, I can't exactly determine what it is that creeps me out about it, but I hate it.
Potentially solved 7 hours ago.
Potentially stopped?
Solved.
Solved. Oh,
Yeah.
tell me.
Okay, so we know they've been walking.
Wait, lean towards the microphone.
Okay. Hey, guys. Kara here. We know that they've been walking continuously in a circle for 12 days. 12 days.
And if you've seen the video of it,
Mongolia, North
it's so
China.
creepy.
Weirdos.
The sheep.
Okay, my thing is, before I get to, I haven't read this yet, but like, their sheep are followers. You know how people are like, don't be a sheep.
Mm-hmm.
So what if one was just like, I'm going to do this for shits and giggles?
And then he's like, I wonder how long they'll keep following me.
And they do, and he's like, guys, I'm exhausted.
It's almost like the American political system.
Exactly. Like, what if a couple decide to step out? Are they going to follow those? Or,
I'm the funniest person I know.
I know, you really are. It really, that's the case.
Hey, this is the Witches, Magic, Murder, and Mystery Podcast.
Oh, hey, guys.
I'm Megan.
I'm Kara.
We're talking about sheep.
Yep, sheep in a circle. A potential explanation has been shared by Matt Bell, a professor and director at the Department of Agriculture at Hartbury University in England. It looks like the sheep are in the pen for long periods, and this might lead to stereotypic behavior with the repeated circling due to frustration about being in the pen and limited as to where they can go. This is not good. Then the other sheep join as, oh, I was right, as a flock animals bond or join their friends.
There's a good lesson here about how, like, you know, just because it's the way you've always done something doesn't mean it's the way you always have to keep doing something.
Yeah.
And you don't have to just fall in line with the people who've always done things a certain way.
Yeah. It says the farmer said pretty much that.
The farmer did?
Yeah, that, not about people, but about his sheep. That,
I mean, I
like,
I was talking about the sheep too, Kara. I don't know what you're insinuating.
Right.
Sure.
He said just a few started displaying this behavior, but then they all started following suit. And some of the people were like, we don't know if they're stopping to eat and drink, but they have to be. Because they would starve to death. They'd be passing out like our dancing plague people.
Well, that's what Courtney said. She goes, it reminded me of the dancing plague. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to do our...
little followers. Don't be a sheep. Be a sheep.
10 seconds of silence. I don't like it when people
Sheep me. Even though it's the biggest form of flattery. What's happening?
I I have a new policy where I'm just going to take everything as a compliment. I'm like, oh, thank you.
Gosh, yeah.
I am very soft and cute. Thank you. Just like a sheep.
Do my teeth look really white in the video? They do.
It has to be something weird with the lighting. I look like Ross. For the episode. We got the salty. We haven't seen each other in a while. My teeth are not that white. Same. Okay.
Listen, all the acid from this pregnancy, I'm like, I can't wait to whiten my teeth when I'm not pregnant. Because right now it's pointless.
Oh, yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah. You are so close. Hey, speaking of Kara being pregnant, did y'all know Kara's pregnant?
Hey, guys.
Starting in December, which I guess will be
soon,
next week.
Jesus Christ.
Right? Wow.
Whoa. Speaking of sheep and mangers and that.
We are going to do one episode a week starting in December. So we will no longer have, right now we're getting Tuesday and Friday. because we're preparing for Kara to give birth. We are, because
Megan
clearly
and I
it's going to be a very busy time for me.
We will be exhausted.
Yeah. Kara's birth is going to take a lot out of me.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
And I know we put stuff on Facebook about it, but I'm sorry that we had to miss last week. I got this migraine that just never went away.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling well the beginning of
Yeah.
the week, and then it hit you, like,
Yeah,
migraine
Kara
hit
was out at
you.
the beginning. I was out at the end. We're recording on a weird day today just because I was basically like, you know what? Today I don't have
We
a
both
migraine.
feel good.
Let's do it. Yeah. So it was amazing, though. I think I told you. I got Benadryl and an IV. It was
wild.
the wildest feeling, which maybe it's not that weird. I've just never had it.
Right, same.
And like you could feel it.
Oh.
I was like, and I was like, oh, this is going to knock me out.
You're
I
like
was going-
slobbering everywhere.
I got some great sleep.
That's amazing.
Okay. I feel like this is too loud, and I don't know why.
It's real close.
I think it's because we haven't been around each other
I
in a
think
while.
so too. We're really excited.
We're really
We're so excitable.
Okay. So I have a story for you today.
Do I have a story for you?
I do. And it's one of these stories that was sent in by someone.
Amazing.
And I'll tell you about that in a second. But I start out reading it from an entertainment point of view.
Oh.
Because it has some entertaining factors.
Okay.
And then it gets to the point where I'm like, oh, this is sad.
Oh, no.
So we're going to go through a whole gamut of emotions.
Fun.
And I'm sure I'll talk about that as we go through.
Right.
But, okay. So this story was sent to us by Tabitha.
Okay.
She DM'd us on Instagram. Shh, stop it.
Don't tell us what to do.
She DM'd us on Instagram.
She slid into those DMs with
She
the
did.
story.
So, and I have no idea. I think it's been a long time ago since she
Also, I
messaged
was
us.
going to say, guys, we love receiving stories from you all.
Yeah.
And keep them coming. Even if we don't respond immediately,
Mm-hmm.
we will add
Yeah.
them to our list. We're very excited and grateful, and we'll get to them.
Yeah. We are reading them and we do love them, even if
Yes.
we haven't responded
Yeah,
yet. Okay. Her message was, I am absolutely in love with you guys. I listen to podcasts all the time. I listen to your podcast all the time while working. As soon as I stumbled upon your podcast, I started binge listening and I literally laugh and giggle out loud all the time. And people look at me like she's crazy. And we get that a lot, which makes me happy.
Yeah.
And then she says, keep up the good podcasting. I have a great story I'd love to hear you talk about. And then I'm not going to tell you the synopsis of it, but
Okay.
anyway, it was just like, please consider this story. And again, I know it took me a while to get to this story, Tabitha, but I'm super glad you sent it in because I'd never heard about it. It's another one of those that as I was researching it, I just kept talking to people around me about it. I was like, can you believe this story?
Yeah. Like, can you? What is happening?
Yeah. Okay. Once upon a time,
I love
there
this.
was a little boy whose name either sounds like two first names or two last names.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Granger Taylor. Granger. I like it.
Like Hermione.
Yeah. Do you know, Millie? Do you know that I didn't even think of that? He was born on Vancouver Island,
Okay.
which is in the land of British Columbia, Canada.
The Vancouvers.
Granger had 3 siblings. His dad died when he was an infant, so his mother remarried, and his stepfather brought with him 3 step siblings and a half brother.
Oh, wow.
So he
there's
grew
a
up
lot of kids in that
with
household.
7 siblings total.
Yeah.
It just sounds great to me.
Yeah.
I know you had a whole lot of siblings. I
Oh,
had
yeah.
one, and I love the one I have. I just think it would be fun to have a house full. So Granger grew up there, and he grew and he grew and he grew. He was this really large, stocky guy.
Okay.
And he was pretty strong too. Like he could throw his friends around a wrestling ring. But even though he's this really big guy, he wasn't like mean or aggressive,
like a
not a
giant
bully
teddy bear.
type. Exactly. He was pretty quiet, withdrawn, and they called him socially awkward. And I'm like, same. And
Who's not anymore?
he spent a lot of time alone in his room taking toy gadgets apart.
Oh.
So if we're being honest, Granger was a little weird. Like me also.
I know.
get
I
it.
constantly did stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I even put here, I spent a lot of time thinking, how can I be less weird?
Yes.
It's hard though when you don't know exactly what it is. Like,
Yeah. You're like, am I that awkward?
right. I know because I can tell in my interactions with other people, I'm a little weird, but I don't know why. I don't know what it is about
causing this. Yeah, but now I'm like, let's do this.
Once people get to know me, they're fine.
Yeah.
I think I come off as snobby. And I don't mean to. It's just I'm kind of quiet sometimes. And I like to sort of assess the situation before I talk a lot.
Right. I hate that people associate quiet with that.
Yeah. So that's my assumption. I'm not even sure if that's true. Also, I don't hear well. This is another thing I've realized. I don't hear well out of one ear.
Guys, I'm going to raise money for Megan's hearing aid.
Sometimes people will say something and I won't hear it.
And so
that could also make me look rude. Right. But also sometimes I'll ask twice for you to repeat yourself. And if I still don't get it,
she just smiles.
I just look at your face and I decide I'm just going to, whatever face they're making. But then I don't carry the discussion further because I don't know what we're talking about.
Right.
Maybe, see, I'm weird. Okay. So I don't know if Granger spent much time thinking about his weirdness.
Right, in the shower.
I mean, but you just never know.
Yeah.
But he did spend a lot of time thinking about machines. So he ended up dropping out of school around 8th grade. He was born in 1948. So for some reason
13-ish.
Yeah. And it seems less surprising to me that he dropped out in 8th grade. Like, I think it was kind of more of a thing back then.
Right.
And he started working.
Me of Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah. Yeah. My papa dropped out in 8th grade. And he's like the best person I know.
Yeah.
Okay. I could go into a whole rant about how education is. About that for sure, but also about the way people use education to exclude people, and I think it's annoying because not everybody needs to be whatever. But okay, I won't right now. We'll save that for another time.
Those sheep.
It would be great to just start throwing that out like all the time about everything.
I think we need a Christmas
you're going to college? Sheep.
We need a Christmas sheep.
Oh my God, we do. Christmas sheep. We were just talking about how we don't really have any Christmas merch because we can't think of ideas, but that's a funny one.
It's a joke of my own spit. Christmas sheep in a circle.
Yeah. Yes.
How does one create that? Let's do it.
Millie.
She's busy.
She's protecting all of us.
The critters in the yard.
Okay.
She needs a Dylan.
Yeah. Kara knows. Millie!
She said, oh God, my mom's here.
She freezes. I'm sure she's like, how does she know?
Her feet stop. My mom!
Okay.
How does she hear this?
So he dropped out of school around 8th grade and started working in local mechanical shops.
Oh.
Here's the thing. Granger was incredibly smart. A lot of people quoted in the articles I read called him a genius, which is probably part of what made him a little socially awkward. I think he was one of those people who was like, he was so smart that it was hard for him to interact with just us sheep. Okay, so Taylor could fix anything. By the time he was 16, he had restored a 1-cylinder car and overhauled a bulldozer. And then he used that bulldozer to help people with their construction work and odd jobs. Like, he would find machinery that had just been like abandoned and left out there and it was all overgrown or whatever. And he would like bring it home and restore it completely. I know. It's incredible.
I'm sure his mom was like, what? Another one? What are we doing today?
Yeah. They said that his parents' farm was just sort of littered with like big machines. So he went on to restore an old steam locomotive that had been abandoned.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then this is the coolest thing. He restored a World War II P-40 Kitty Hawk. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. What is that?
Really? He did?
So I looked it up, and it's the airplane that you picture when you think of World War II airplanes. And he restored it.
That they painted the faces and stuff on.
Right. And this ends up being how Granger makes money. He restores old machines that he finds, and then he sells them to collectors. It's an incredible hobby.
That's wild.
Like, yeah, who does that? It's amazing. So one of the articles I read, this one is from Vice.com, interviewed this guy who used to be Granger's best friend. And his name is Robert Keller. He'd actually helped restore that Kitty Hawk. And he's one of the people who called Granger a genius. And about rebuilding the Kitty Hawk, Robert said that Granger, quote, had found a section of fuselage, some landing gear, a partial cockpit, and an engine lying derelict in the woods. With only photographs as a guide, Taylor rebuilt the entire plane using repurposed metal signs and hot water heaters. Sitting beside the actual factory-built airplane, you'd never know the difference. Coolest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
So he and Granger had met.
Just found pieces.
Right. That's what I wondered too. Like, what? They're just
Looks like it would work.
just laying out there in the field. Huh. In British Columbia, Vancouver Island.
Amazing, guys.
So Robert and Granger had met through a mutual hobby, smoking pot. And now this whole episode is an ad for legalizing marijuana.
Don't be a sheep.
Yeah. I mean, read about it. Okay. I'm trying so hard to stay on task. I've stopped myself from at least 3 rants. Okay, so let's stop for a minute and think about the time we're in here and what's going on in the world. So Granger was born in 1948. So he grew up in the 50s. And I'm guessing we're somewhere in the 60s and 70s when he started hanging out with Robert.
Right.
Fixing
The
machines.
time of
getting high.
Getting high.
And in the 40s and 50s, talk of UFOs, aliens, and all things outer space was a big part of mainstream culture.
Right.
We've covered several of
yeah.
the things that happened in that time period related to aliens and UFOs. There was the Roswell incident in 1947 when a UFO absolutely crashed in New Mexico.
For sure
And
it
you
did.
will never convince me otherwise.
Right.
An incident in 1961 where a couple named Barney and Betty Hill said they were abducted by aliens, because they were,
Yep.
in New Hampshire. And then there are all sorts of stories from World War II pilots.
There's an alien at the door.
Why? Okay. Then there are all the stories from... Then there's... Then there's all sorts of stories from the World War II pilots about seeing strange lights in the sky.
Yes.
Large balls of light that were later referred to as Foo Fighters. Right? Did you know that? Okay. I actually wrote this rant into the episode, so sorry, we're going to go on a tangent. But
What?
do you want to hear my most unpopular opinion
Please.
ever?
Yeah. You don't like them?
I don't like Foo Fighters. Okay. I thought I did.
Yeah.
I went to a music festival a few years ago, and the Foo Fighters headlined. And I got there.
What is this?
Well, I was excited to see them.
Is this the one where you all didn't even have water?
No, that was Railbird.
Oh, yeah.
Which I didn't actually stay at very long. But
Yeah.
Foo Fighters headline. So we got there. We stayed all day. We saw so many great bands. But at the end of the night, Foo Fighters get on stage and Dave Grohl starts singing. And I was just like, I'm too tired. Like,
I
I
can't
don't
jam
know.
with this.
I have to leave.
Yeah.
You know, I hit a wall. I get tired and I'm going to be asleep very fast.
Yeah. If you're not giving her snacks,
She's
she's
got
got
to
to go to bed.
So as we're walking through the crowd to leave, I cannot tell you how mad people were at me for leaving. And that is what made me decide I don't like the Foo Fighters anymore, because the fans were
horrible.
so... I had people cussing me out because I dared to leave while Dave Grohl was on stage.
What if you were like, guys, I'm about to poop myself?
I should have said that. But I'm like, I came to this festival for Nathaniel Rateliff and John Fogerty, and I've seen them play, and I'm happy. Let me live my life. Leave me alone.
That's all
So-
I wanted.
I liked Foo Fighters until the fans made me not like them. So,
Yeah.
sorry.
Sorry
Anyway,
about you.
as always, art imitates life, and by the end of the 70s, we've got TV shows like Star Trek and movies like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Aliens were a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the world that Granger and Robert are living in when Granger tells Robert, you know how I'm a genius with a gift for building machines? I'm going to build myself a spaceship.
I thought you were going to say, I'm an alien. That would be so good.
And then he did, because he's like you, Kara. He says, I'm going to do this thing. And then he goes and does it, even though you're like,
You didn't have a thought process for it, but you jumped in or tried to do it.
suddenly here we are.
This must be an Aries.
So it took him about a year. He got parts from the local dump and he started welding it all together to create a life-size spaceship. It was made out of two like satellite dishes,
Okay.
like two bowls inverted on each other. And inside there was a television, a couch, a wood burning stove, books.
What?
It sounds like the most amazing Airbnb
Yes.
ever. Did you ever look at that section on Airbnb of like the unusual places to stay?
Yes, and I love them so much.
So it looks like a spaceship and all, but it didn't run. Granger spent a lot of time in there trying to figure out how flying saucers were powered, which is honestly something I have never thought about. But really, if you stop and think about it, and then add marijuana,
How?
and you'd be like, whoa.
His mom's probably knocking on the spaceship. Dude, you've got about 12 tractors out here. And there's some pieces. I really need to till this garden. Can you?
Yeah. He's in there with his weed. He has no idea how much time has passed. It could have been 3 minutes. It could have been 3 days. Who knows?
Yeah.
I allegedly.
Right. I hear. Who knows?
So he spent hours in there and he slept in there sometimes and he's just thinking. Okay. I cannot overstate how much time Granger spent inside his spaceship. And I mean, I would too. Like, if I built myself a spaceship, I would be in there all the time. Be like, I made this.
It's like that super cool, like, treehouse.
Yes.
That you want to get home from school and climb up in.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
I want that right now.
Same.
So that was his life. And then Granger starts talking about how he had been communicating with aliens.
Oh.
He told his friends that he was receiving messages from someone in another galaxy. A galaxy far, far away. Yeah. Who knows? He was like, I can't see who I'm talking to.
Oh.
The messages just show up in my head.
Oh.
I mean, those, I think, like, I don't know. How do you know that it's not just your thoughts?
Right.
What's the difference?
How is it any different from me having a conversation in my head about things that haven't happened and could potentially never happen or happen in the shower? And next thing you know, you're putting conditioner in your hair and you're like, how'd I even get in here?
Maybe it's an alien who is trying to make you anxious. That's their job.
Exactly.
Just to make you doubt everything you've ever made.
Yeah. Anybody with ADHD actually has aliens talking to them.
I mean, who knows? So he had been using a little radio to try and communicate with aliens for months.
Oh my gosh.
And he surmised that they had probably reached out to him because they saw his willingness to communicate. He'd made a spaceship. And they're like, okay, let's talk to him. Yeah. He's a fan.
Yeah.
Here's another thing that plays into all this. Granger had started doing acid.
Oh.
Yeah. So according to a couple of his family members, he had been taking acid a few times a day. Still, his friends were like,
he's still a genius.
Right. And they're like, he'd been doing a lot of acid throughout the summer, but he didn't seem to have any bad side effects from it. No bad trips or anything. I mean, unless you consider the whole I'm getting messages from outer space to be
your brain
bad
cells
side
are
effect.
dissolving. Yeah,
Right.
I don't know.
Regardless, Granger talked about being in telepathic contact. It's hard to say.
Wow, that's a lot.
Being in contact telepathically. That's probably better. With an alien. A lot. He told a friend he'd be invited to go on a trip through the solar system, but he didn't give many details. And he was so matter of fact about it all. And he talked about it so often that his friends were just like, yeah.
Sure.
Like,
that's what he does all day.
Yeah. And Granger, he's like a logical, he builds machines.
Right.
He's not some big storyteller.
He's very analytical.
Right. He doesn't have some big fantasy life he's living.
Right.
He was known for being honest. So this wasn't a guy looking for attention.
She is.
Millie wants her attention.
But she doesn't.
Desperately.
Don't touch her. Don't look at her the wrong way.
So this wasn't a guy looking for attention. He doesn't seem like the type to even care about that sort of thing. That's not the point. She sounds heartbroken.
She really does. Her squirrel friend left her.
She's singing a country song. Yeah. For people. And it's like his friends weren't sure what to think. On one hand, it's a wild story. Like, your friend tells you that, it's like...
And it's like he's telling them every day.
Right. And they were like, maybe he just has some sort of vivid dream or hallucination. On the other hand, they weren't completely willing to discount it either, because if extraterrestrial intelligence were to contact anyone on Earth...
It would be him.
They're like, yeah, it'd be Granger. He's real smart.
Yeah.
He built himself a spaceship.
Right. Here we are. What more do you want from him?
Right. So, on November 28th, 1980, what day is this going to come out? The 25th, right?
We're real close.
Yeah. On November 28th, 1980, which if you're listening to this on the day it comes out,
Millie needs you to receive a message from her people.
on November 28th, 1980, oh my God. Millie!
Millicent! She said, what? Did she call me?
How does she know my full name? Okay. On November 28th, I'm going to say it one more time because of the shaking. On November 28th, 1980, which if you're listening to this on the day it comes out, is the anniversary would be 3 days from now. Granger went to his stepfather and had a long talk with him, thanking him for everything he'd done. Like I said, Granger's biological father had died when he was little, and Granger was just thankful for the way his stepfather had come in and taken care of him. He'd never made him feel...
And he just let him be his nerdy self.
Right. And then, the next day, on the evening of November 29th, 1980, Granger went to a local diner, Bob's Grill. He was a regular there, so that was normal. He left the diner around 6:30 p.m. He had written a note and left it at his parents' farm, which his dad found when he came home that day. It said, "Dear Mother and Father, I have gone away to walk aboard an alien spaceship, as recurring dreams assured, a 42-month interstellar voyage to explore the vast universe and then return. I am leaving behind all my possessions to you, as I will no longer require the use of any. Please use the instructions in my will as a guide to help. Love, Granger."
What?
On the back of the note, there was a drawing that looked like a map. He had also left 2 wills with detailed instructions for what his parents should do with his stuff. And on the will, he'd crossed out deceased and put departed.
Oh.
Because he's like, I'm not dead.
No.
And with that, 32-year-old Granger Taylor disappeared.
Oh my gosh.
His family and police spent months searching for him and his truck, and they found neither.
Nothing. The aliens wanted him to bring his truck aboard?
Well, I guess he had to take the truck to get to wherever he was meeting them.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't done this yet.
Right.
Exactly 42 months later, on June 29th, 1983, Granger's stepbrother Douglas, he worked for the Canadian Coast Guard.
Okay.
And he set out on his patrol boat for half the night just watching the sky, looking for any sign of Granger and his spacecraft, because remember, his note said 42 months.
Yeah.
Eventually, he went to bed. Back at the Taylor farm, Granger's parents left their back door unlocked, just in case. Which I know, it gives me chills.
Yeah.
It's the sweetest, saddest thing.
Yeah.
Because, there was just a tiny part of them that was like,
maybe this is...
what if?
It, yeah.
Especially at that time period when there had been so much alien stuff in the news, it would be like...
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you would surely, for the most part, be like, there's no way this is real.
Right.
But on the other hand, where is he
Potentially.
then?
Yeah.
Or his truck?
Right.
So, 51 months after Granger disappeared, on March 18th, 1985, a reporter from the Times Colonist visited Granger's parents to do a story. The homemade spaceship was still there, although its door was broken, probably by kids playing. And inside the spaceship, though, things were still the same as when Granger had left them. There was old equipment littered all over the farm, steam pots from donkey engines, an old bulldozer, railroad artifacts, all leftovers of Taylor's possessions. No, all leftovers of Taylor's passions.
Same. Both.
So here's a quote from the article. "They are much the way Granger left them too. The Taylors have tried to keep everything the same. His bed in his bedroom next to the kitchen is untouched. The plaques he saved from the engines he'd repaired, triumphs and trophies of his mechanical aptitude, hang on a cupboard door. His books are there too. Paperbacks mostly, with titles like Black Holes, The Secret Forces of the Pyramid, Flying Saucers Here and Now, and From Outer Space, stored now in a cardboard box. The Taylors desperately want to believe their son will come back, but after 51 months, it is tough to keep up hope."
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so sad.
Yeah.
The following year, in March of 1986, forestry workers found a blast site near British Columbia's Mount Prevost, not far from the home where Granger had lived with his parents. For one, I'm like, 6 years later?
Yeah.
It takes them 6 years to find this blast site?
Right.
But I don't know anything
You all
about
just
British Columbia. Maybe it's,
stumbled upon it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
And also, it's not far from where he'd lived with his parents.
Right.
Scattered around the site were discolored fragments of what appeared to have once been a truck. Police were called, and according to the Montreal Gazette, human bone fragments were found at the scene. An official coroner's inquest concluded that the circumstantial evidence from the scene pointed to Granger Taylor being killed there.
Oh, gosh.
It said that he had been carrying dynamite in his truck. Apparently that was normal. They used it to blast tree stumps. That was like a common thing at the time.
Okay.
Again, I don't know anything about British Columbia.
No.
And reading this makes me realize I really don't know anything about British
It's
Columbia.
driving around in the wintertime here with, like, bags of
Sand and
sand.
salt, yeah. And so they think the dynamite in the back of his truck went off either on purpose or by accident.
Okay.
DNA profiling was barely a thing then and unavailable to police on Vancouver Island anyway, so the identity of those bone fragments was never definitively confirmed. But basically, it appears that on November 29th, 1980, Granger Taylor left a note for his dad, filled his truck with dynamite, and drove off into the woods, where he then blew himself and his truck up, either by accident or on purpose.
My gosh.
Right. For what it's worth, Granger's buddy Robert, that we talked about at the beginning, doesn't believe that Granger could have died by accident.
Okay.
He's like, Granger handled dynamite a million times. He knew how to handle it. It wouldn't have gone off by accident. Whether or not he was suicidal is harder to sort out.
Right.
A few of his siblings were quoted in articles talking about how they think he was probably lonely. You know, he was just different. He didn't really fit in.
Yeah.
Robert could see Granger possibly wanting to disappear on purpose, but not necessarily via suicide.
Yeah, he didn't want to, like, die. He just wanted to
Right.
escape.
From what I could tell, it seems like Robert's hope is that Granger just went off somewhere and started a new life.
Yeah.
Then, of course, there are the conspiracy theories. Aliens blew up Taylor's truck to make it look like he died by suicide because the voyage to the solar system was a one-way trip. Or the dynamite had been used to blast himself into space. Or, this one is my favorite. He was so smart, and possibly due to his contact with aliens, Granger was recruited by a secret agency, and his death had to be faked.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
He knew too much.
Right. Or he knew so much that they needed his help.
Right. That he knew so much, they recruited him, but then he knew too much and he couldn't be around people.
I don't want it to seem insensitive that I'm going all conspiracy theory on his death.
Right.
It's just that I just saw a video the other night where this guy's like, I don't understand people who don't believe in conspiracy theories. Because he's like, did I send it to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he's like,
you mean at least?
not even one?
Yeah.
You think the government's telling us the truth about everything?
Yeah.
He's like, the government has to be in charge of a whole group of people. He's like, I'm in charge of one person. His
I
son.
lie to that person all the time.
He's like, I lie to him all the time. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't find it completely crazy to think that that could be true. He could have been recruited by some secret agency.
I mean, he could be our neighbor. We don't know.
I'm inclined, like Robert, to believe that it would be very unusual for him to have accidentally blown himself up. There was one article I read that referred to a storm that night, but only one article I read mentioned it. But it made me wonder, like, could have been struck by lightning and accidentally gone off?
Oh, yeah.
If there was even a storm
Right.
that night. I just don't know. He talked for so long about going on this voyage with the aliens.
Communicating with them.
Was the whole thing a ploy for he was going to die by suicide? Was that always his plan then? Like, it just seems strange. It's a strange way to go about
your
it.
will to remove death from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I find suicide to be the least likely explanation. I would say accident or conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Which those would be the only other two options. So
there's nothing else.
Covering all my bases.
Because aliens are the option.
Yeah. Basically. I don't know.
What?
So that's the story of Granger Taylor.
Wow.
I know.
That's
We
wild.
still don't really know what happened. I mean, I do assume it was definitely him that they found. I think that blast site was him. I don't really question that.
Right.
But how and why and
Where?
yeah.
Well, we know the where, but wow.
Yeah. So there you go, guys. That's our story this week.
Aliens.
We'd love to hear what you think about it.
Yeah.
Let us know either in the Facebook group or you can message us.
If you're secretly him, tell us.
Yeah,
We'll
definitely.
keep it a secret.
Absolutely. We would not tell anybody.
No.
If you're an alien also, we want to know.
Oh, we want to know.
I guess that's all we've got this week. Okay. We love you.
So much.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.